Hello, hello, welcome. If you're new here, please subscribe, click the bell to the next to the subscribe button, thumb up the video, share everywhere, including your YouTube community tab, please and thank you. And if you're returning, welcome home. We're going to be going over a few things for book 74. Then we're going to roll into the Eloise is alive theory. The reason why the same force that caused the house to collapse caused this basement structure to collapse, because they wanted to hide the fact that this was a secret entranceway, or a secret pathway to get to the tunnels where they were keeping people, including that cave painting. The cave painting was more than likely a prophecy letting the people know this is what is supposed to happen and what can happen. This is the whole plan that we have for immortality or whatever. The man in the yellow suit told Jim on the radio, your wife shouldn't be digging that hole, because he wanted to lure Jim into the house so that possibly the house could collapse on top of him. The man in the yellow suit was waiting for enough people to get into the mousetrap to cause the house to collapse, to take out as many casualties as possible, especially since Tom and Jim have been instrumental in helping Jade and Tabitha find out who they come from. So the way the house collapses, it starts off from the top. So the fact that it's not coming from the sides or the bottom is the house to collapse on top of a target. I think that the reason why the demolition or deconstruction starts from this area, because the part where they were digging at was like right here. So it's almost as if like a force was actually putting pressure on the house right here to cause it to collapse down onto where they were, directly into the basement. When you go back and rewatch the episode, just the way the house collapses, it's almost as if an invisible force is in the sky and is like punching on a particular part of the house to actually attack Jim and everybody else who was there, to trap them in there and hurt them. You see how the house collapses and it's just taking out the front part as if it's like an actual attack on Jim and everybody in the basement. And then the rest of the house just kind of goes with it and just topples over. But the actual intended point of destruction was this part right here, in my opinion, is directly above the part where Jim and company were in the basement. This is Eloise's drawings that look blocky, something that a 5 or 6 year old would do, maybe 7 or 8 year old. And again, this is Eloise and Victor. This is Eloise's drawing. You see how it's stick figures, similar to how Victor's was when he was younger. This one appears to be a little bit more refined than it does with this one. So this is Eloise drawing this one, Eloise and Victor. This has got to be Victor's picture. Well, with Victor drawing this, guess what this looks like? This looks similar to Boyd in the bottom of the mine shaft, season 2, episode 1. See, he's yelling. Now, there's no way that Victor or Eloise could have seen him like this. Now we know this couldn't be Eloise in her vision. It's more than likely not Ethan. This has got to be Victor. I think Victor has more going on than he's letting people know. Maybe he saw this in a dream or a vision, but this looks really close to being Boyd, him yelling. All this black stuff on the side of the mine shaft. Yeah, side of the mine shaft. Maybe Victor drew this from a dream. Maybe Victor story walks. But it's something else that I'm noticing is that on the top of his head is something red, as if it's like blood. So in the church basement, Father Khatri, being a whole creep out here.
Don't make me laugh.
Being a whole creep out here, has Sarah imprisoned and asked her if she knew that there isn't a single copy of the Bible in town. Even Father Khatri didn't bring his own Bible. Nobody brought a Bible. He admits that she is probably wondering why she isn't in the box, given her crimes. But he reveals that Nathan told him about the voices. Father Khatri then removes Sarah's gag and tells her that despite the awful things she's done, he thinks she can still do some good. That's nice of him. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sparing Sarah. We all like Sarah. I crack jokes on Sarah. I roast her and stuff, but Sarah's actually my favorite character. It's a roast in love. So at Colony House, Julie puts the bouquet she found in a pot. Julie's just stealing stuff. Okay, Kevin's trying to get his Mac on. He's trying to shoot his shot at Jasmine. Julie's up here messing it up.
Game over.
So Julie explains that she found them, stole them. She found them arranged. Fatima tells her it is laundry day and takes her with her. So out on the road, Jade and Jim strip Jade's Audi for wire. Jim asks why they went all the way to Jade's car when they could have stripped wire from the cars in town. Jade explains that his car is a top of the line model, not a peasant model jalopy. Yikes.
Wow.
He's flexing. All right. Don't hate on him. He's flexing. Flexing on y'all. Yeah. Don't be mad that Jay got it and you don't. A peasant model jalopy wouldn't have got the job done. Audi is a German automotive manufacturer of luxury vehicles, and it's kind of like a worldwide thing that German engineering is considered top of the line, even in Fromville. Yeah. So Tabitha and Ethan drop off the Pratt's things, and Tien Chen lead them to the storage area. She notices that Ethan is nervous and promises that Sarah's not here or able to hurt him. In the storage room, Ethan is amazed by how much there is and starts touching things, but Tabitha says not to because it belonged to people who used to live in town. Ethan then compares it to the cavern of the Lonely Dragon, explaining that when the Chromonacle was lost in the rainbow sky, she found the cavern home to whom things no one else wanted. And there's a treasure map there. And one of the piles was the map of the rainbow sky, which the dragon gave the Chromonacle. So let me fill in. I think I went over this before, but let me fill in what I think all this could be. We saw on an interview that E-Man Movie Reviews did with John Griffin and Jeff Pinkner that Jade originally was supposed to be a girl. He was originally supposed to be an 18-year-old girl. They wrote the story like that and changed it to him being an older man. So I think that the Chromonacle still is Jade, even though they didn't change the story of the Chromonacle, the flight of the Chromonacle, to kind of match the actual story. Because you could also say that Tabitha's the Chromonacle, or maybe that Tabitha and Jade are Chromonacles. I think they should have had the flight of the Chromonacle be two people, like the Chromonacle be two people, or later on in the series say that Jade and Tabitha originally were like one person and they split into two. But anyway, I think that both Jade and Tabitha are Chromonacles. And so here's what I think that Ethan is communicating to Tabitha and also to us as the audience. The cavern is the diner. The Lonely Dragon is Tien Chen, who lost her husband to the creatures, explaining that when the Chromonacle, Tabitha, was lost in the rainbow sky, samsara, which is a cycle of reincarnation. She found the cavern home, the lost and found in the back of the diner, the Lonely Dragon, which is Tien Chen, to whom things that no one wanted, talking about the residents, was treasure. And it's treasure to both Tabitha and Jade. And one of the piles was the map. I think that's Christopher's book that Tien Chen gave to Jade of the rainbow sky. That's samsara, kind of like, even though it's not really a map per se, but more like a guide, which did help both Tabitha and Jade get to the point of learning that they come from Christopher and Miranda and they come from other people, which the dragon Tien Chen gave the Chromonacle, which was Jade. So the Chromonacle could be a dual thing where a Chromonacle is not necessarily a character, but maybe a title. So it's possible that you could have co-captains on a team where both people are captains. You're calling them captain. You're talking about two different people. It's just that depending on what you're talking about determines who you're talking about. So I think Chromonacle may be more like a title than an actual character as far as the focus. So Jade and Tabitha would be Chromonacle. The book of the rainbow sky, samsara, helped the Chromonacle, allowing her to find her way. So the cycle of reincarnation is called samsara. It's an Indian religion. It's a fundamental concept in Hinduism and Buddhism. Samsara is a Sanskrit word that means wandering or world. It's also associated with the idea of cycle change. The ultimate goal in samsara is to achieve moksha or moksha, which is liberation from the cycle of reincarnation. And I think that's what's going on with Tabitha and of course Jade. They keep recycling and they keep coming back here over and over again, and they're trying to break the cycle. Ethan then says that they could find the map in the storage room. Tabitha then notices a bracelet, which she takes. After watching season 3, hopefully you've already watched season 1, 2, and 3 before you watch this video. But after watching season 3, we know that the bracelet that Tabitha found in the diner's Lost and Found that she made for Jim, that bracelet belonged to Miranda. I think that this bracelet came from Miranda's body, but was put there by an adult Eloise, chapter walking to the past. Some of you will say this is a yoga stretch. Why go over this again? I'm going over this again, even though I made a previous video about this theory saying that it may be an alternate reality, time travel, other dimension. All a theory, okay, all a theory that Eloise is alive and an adult Eloise put Miranda's former bracelet into the diner for Tabitha to find because Eloise knows that by Tabitha finding this bracelet is going to encourage Tabitha to dig in her home, go down to the cave where the cave painting is, and start the series of events that we've seen. Also in this theory, even though in a previous video I said that I believe the cave paintings made by Native Americans, maybe, maybe not. In this theory, I think that the person who made the cave painting was also Eloise, and that Eloise has been in the background the whole time doing things, and that is the explanation as to why things are where they are. And the man in the yellow suit has been doing things to somewhat prevent Jade and prevent Tabitha from finding out who they come from, because if it wasn't for Tabitha digging in her home, going down to the cave and seeing the cave painting, she would have never have told Jade about it, and Jade would have never went to look for that cave painting with the symbol. Season 2, episode 10. This bracelet was the thing that sent Tabitha and Jade in a particular direction, from just simply theory crafting to putting one foot in front of the other, getting clues like breadcrumbs that eventually led them to the bottle tree with the numbers written on the piece of paper that we saw the fruition of season 3, episode 10, with Jade playing the violin, the Nkui kids coming out, and then now they remember who they come from. This bracelet was a huge turning point, and I think Eloise, maybe with the guidance of the boy in white, put this here because the boy in white can see different realities, different possibilities. Also, Eloise may also be able to see things like through visions. Maybe she did this knowing that it's going to eventually get Tabitha and Jade to a particular point in the future, which may be the future that she's a part of right now. So in other words, it's kind of like a Cloverfield paradox where you come from a future where certain things have happened, you go back to the past to ensure those events happened, and it becomes a paradox because what happened first, you causing the events or the events happening on their own and you just ensured it happening? You don't know. So this is a paradox, if you will. This is season 3, episode 10. This is where Victor is leading Henry to Miranda and Eloise's graves. As Henry is overcome by emotion, Victor tearfully reveals that it is his fault that they passed away, as he told Miranda about the children. Victor says if he had not said anything, they would still be alive. So this is partially correct, and here's why. Victor did tell Miranda, his mom, about the conversation between the boy in white and Christopher, but the boy in white told Christopher to go through the tree to save the children, not go to the lighthouse. The idea of going to the lighthouse came from Eloise. So Eloise made a drawing of the lighthouse, which I think was from either a vision, prophetic dream, or in this theory, her future self story walking and telling her past self about the lighthouse. Tabitha got the idea from going to the lighthouse to save the children after Victor went to his mom's car and they found the drawing of the lighthouse in the trunk of it that came from Eloise. That's what gave Tabitha the idea to go to the tower, which is the lighthouse, to save the children. And Victor told Tabitha that's where his mother went the night she passed away, because Eloise had to be the one to tell Miranda and Victor about it, because Miranda didn't know about a tower before she went into Fromville. Henry said to Tabitha before they went into Fromville when they were in Maine that Miranda believed that she was chosen to find and save the children. So that means that Miranda didn't know where they were at. And while in Fromville, Victor overheard the conversation between the boy in white and Christopher. The boy in white never mentioned the tower. He just mentioned going through the tree to save the children. So the only time there's been a mention of a tower has been from Eloise telling that to Victor. And Victor heard that from Eloise when Eloise told Victor that is where mom was going the night she disappeared. Based off of the way that Victor phrased that statement that came from Eloise, that means that when Miranda left Victor and Eloise in the root cellar, Eloise didn't immediately go and run after Miranda. Victor and Eloise had a conversation about where their mom was going. This conversation could have lasted a minute, an hour. Maybe they were down there for a minute, an hour, maybe some hours before Eloise left and went towards Miranda. Victor's memory is really bad because of trauma and because the things that he's having to remember were like 40 plus years ago. So in this theory, Eloise did not immediately run after Miranda. She waited there. She and Victor were hanging out and talking about where their mom was going because Victor didn't know. And Eloise told Victor about the lighthouse. The picture that Eloise drew of the lighthouse was in their mother's trunk, meaning that Eloise more than likely drew that picture possibly before they went into Fromville or while they were in Fromville. For it to get into that trunk, it's more than likely the people in Fromville, the townspeople, they were going through everyone's stuff. Miranda saw that, so she kept everyone's belongings in the vehicle where it would be safe, including Eloise's drawing. So we don't know when Eloise drew the lighthouse, but let's just say for this theory, she drew the lighthouse while in Fromville. So for Eloise to draw the lighthouse, Victor found out about the lighthouse from Eloise. The idea of the lighthouse that Miranda was trying to go to came from Eloise. So Eloise knew about the lighthouse more than likely without seeing it, because you can't see it from town, even though Miranda says that this tree always goes to the lighthouse. But again, you can't trust Victor's memory. If that tree always goes to the lighthouse, then why didn't it always go there for Dale? When Dale went through the tree, he ended up on the side of the pool. That statement can't be true about it always goes to the lighthouse. It may be that Eloise told Miranda it always goes to the lighthouse, probably because she was told that by her future self. Because her future self went through it, went to the tower, went to the lighthouse, and just was like, okay, this always takes me to the lighthouse. Story walked, went back and talked to her younger self and told her younger self about the lighthouse, how it looked, and that it always goes to the lighthouse, talking about the bottle tree. And it's possible that Eloise could have seen the lighthouse in a vision. When you look at the lighthouse drawing, there's no green on here. Now you could say, well, maybe she didn't have any green to put down here to show the vegetation, but there's pictures here where there's green, and over here behind me, there's green. There was a green for these back here that you really can't see. So she could have put green here, but did not. She put yellow, equivalent to this up here. When her future self described the lighthouse to her, or maybe told her about the lighthouse, the young Eloise didn't actually see it. So she doesn't really know what would go down here, but she does know that it's a light from up top here, maybe from her older self telling her about the lighthouse or from her seeing the lighthouse outside of Fromville. Her older self said that children were locked in the lighthouse, and it may be that children in the future are locked in the lighthouse, and she may have told her younger self about that, and that's just what was relayed to Miranda in the past. Because again, someone had to come with the idea of going to the tower to save the children, and it didn't come from Victor, didn't come from Miranda's vision before going to Fromville, didn't come from Christopher or the boy in white. The idea of not only to go to the lighthouse and go to the lighthouse, save the children, had to have came from Eloise. And Miranda says that the bottle tree always goes to the lighthouse. So in this theory also, we could say that Miranda may have went through the tree and went to the lighthouse herself. But if she would have went to the lighthouse, no children there, why would she be going to the lighthouse to save the children at a particular time? Unless Miranda was always going to the lighthouse to hang out, explore, whatever. And when told there were children locked there, maybe she thought that there was a part of the lighthouse that she had not seen or explored, maybe underground or something. And that's what she was going towards that night. So far, we're saying that Eloise, either from her future self story walking, or maybe both, maybe even the boy in white, Eloise is the one that told Miranda about the tower. Eloise also told Victor that's where their mom was going. Eloise pretty much is the reason why Tabitha went through the tree to go save the children, and then she ended up getting pushed out by the boy in white. It was not immediate when Eloise ran after Miranda. Eloise probably wanted Victor to come with her. Victor was like, nope, I'm staying put. Eloise left. Eloise probably tried to follow behind Miranda, then got lost, found the cave, and decided to hide in there. Well, it was dark during that time, so when she went into the cave, there's no creatures. And I think that the boy in white was guiding, leading, and telling Eloise where to hide and how to move and navigate the caves. And that's the reason why Victor went for years, maybe even decades, without seeing the boy in white, because the boy in white was with Eloise, and Eloise became a cave dweller. So the same way that Victor hid for a day or two, Eloise could, even long term, especially with the boy in white's help. Eloise could have been told the prophecy from the boy in white, and maybe Eloise drew the prophecy on the cave, and she's the one that made the cave painting. As Eloise became a cave dweller and was navigating the chambers, she developed a Paleolithic diet. That's the diet of cavemen and cave women millions of years ago. And basically, with a Paleolithic diet that most cave dwellers develop, they eat plants, insects, small game animals, and even small fish. Maybe she came out of the cave and she was the one that planted the wild vegetables at the settlement and took the trapped animals from the traps that Kenny checked before they found Kelly. So as Eloise is navigating the cave, navigating the chambers, and getting older, it would make sense for her to play around with stuff when the creatures were either asleep or away hunting in town. So that would explain who set up Jasper for tea time that Henry and Victor found before they grabbed Jasper, ran out the cave. And it would also explain why Jasper was moved to different locations, because when Eloise was younger, she remembers Jasper from Christopher's ventriloquist act. She would like Jasper and maybe even think that he was alive, just like Victor did, but end up accepting that Jasper is just a dummy and playing with him and having the tea time. Eloise may have seen Tabitha and Victor in the cave, but didn't know that was Victor, her brother. And the boy in white, the way that he doesn't want to give information, he probably didn't tell Eloise who they were, and Eloise just stayed hidden like she normally does while the creatures sleep. In this theory, Eloise, with the guidance of the boy in white, being told of the prophecy and everything, Eloise probably figured out how to story walk, went back to where Miranda's body was in the past, and with the boy in white's instruction, took Miranda's bracelet and put it in the diner for Tabitha to find. And the reason why I think that is because in this theory, when Victor, Miranda, and Eloise were in Fromville, they more than likely lived in the room that Victor's in now. That's the reason why Victor's in there. So Victor was in his room during the day, and at nighttime he would go hide in the Peach trailer, close the door, and the creatures, because they normally go into town, they would never go to the trailer and try to check it out or open it up or anything, because he was always quiet there. And I think during the day he would come out the trailer, go back to his room in Colony House that Miranda, he, and Eloise were in back when Miranda was alive. Eloise was there. And that's the reason why Victor has that room, because more than likely as people started to come into Fromville, he was just always in that room. He fought to keep that room, and it's just his room. Whereas everyone else was hiding in bunkers, under houses, hiding everywhere the creatures couldn't go, because this was before the talisman time. However, Victor, he had his own private hiding place he didn't tell anybody about. Every time we see Victor, if he's not in his trailer, he's in Colony House in his room. He eats from the kitchen in Colony House or the pantry. He's all about Colony House, more than likely because that's where he, Miranda, and Eloise were at while Miranda and Eloise were around. Victor did tell Sarah that the place that Eloise liked to play at was Sarah's house. However, if you had a house of your own, why would you play in someone else's house? They probably went down to the houses to play because there were people in Colony House and they wanted to get away from everyone, especially because Victor and Eloise were the only children around that time. And it wouldn't make sense for them to go down to the houses to play, but then go back up to Colony House when it came time to eat or to do other stuff, such as like interact with the other adults, being with their mom. And it's more than likely that while Miranda was in Fromville, she probably left Victor and Eloise by themselves to go do stuff and didn't take them everywhere she went, simply because she left them in the root cellar when she was going to go to the bottle tree before going and trying to go to the lighthouse to save the children. So every time somebody passes away who belongs to Colony House, they take their belongings down to the Lost and Found in the basement of Colony House. Anytime someone in town passes away, they take their belongings to the Lost and Found in the back of the diner. The reason why the diner's Lost and Found and Colony House's Lost and Founds are never raided, because in my opinion, people do not want belongings that belong to the deceased. And I think there's also evidence because when it was season 2, episode 1, we saw all of the people on the bus come into town. All of the residents, including Colony House and town, started to raid everyone's luggage and belongings. Even when the Matthews came, people were raiding their stuff because they're all about raiding people's stuff who are alive, but not anyone who's deceased. So it would be reasonable to believe that anything that's here came from people who were deceased, including this bracelet. When Victor buried Miranda, everyone else he couldn't bury, so he buried something most precious to them. If he was going to take Miranda's stuff, it would either be in Colony House with him in that room. It would be in the Peach trailer, also like his other room or his other home, or it would be in Colony House's Lost and Found, because it's more than likely that Victor, Eloise, and Miranda lived in Colony House. So Victor wouldn't have any reason to go to the diner to put anything as far as Lost and Found. So there's no way that Victor, in this theory, would have brought Miranda's bracelet to the diner's Lost and Found. It would have either been in Colony House's Lost and Found, his room, or the Peach Tree's trailer. For the bracelet to be here would mean that this would have to come from someone deceased, or it would have to be someone donating something. And I doubt that anybody wants to put their belongings in the diner, because nobody wants to go to the diner to get anything, and everybody knows everyone wants everyone else's stuff even before the talisman stones. So if somebody wanted to give something away, they would just give it to someone in town, give it to someone in Colony House. So that's why I'm believing that this bracelet was taken from Miranda by an adult Eloise who was story walking, put in the diner for Tabitha to find, to encourage her to dig at her home, find the cave painting, and start the rest of the events of season 2 and season 3. because Eloise may have been told or guided by the boy in white to do it. Maybe Eloise saw it in a vision, or Eloise knows all these events have happened and she story walked to ensure they happened, creating a paradox. Because if she didn't do it in the first place, but it was done, who did it before her? We don't know. She went back to make sure it got done, and she became the author of those events through story walking in this theory. And based off the information in the show, we know it can't be Jim's bracelet that Tabitha made for him because he lost that when Julie was born. Henry's bracelet that Miranda made for him more than likely was left in the car after the auto accident that Tabitha and Henry were in before they went into Frumville. And also, we know that it more than likely didn't belong to Eloise to begin with, because if Eloise had a bracelet, Victor would as well. And then we know that Victor doesn't have a bracelet because we don't see him with it. And then, you know, in looking in his room in the peach truck or peach trailer, we don't see a bracelet. So this bracelet more than likely came from Miranda when she was deceased. In this theory, her adult daughter story walked to try to save her mom, didn't work. Took the bracelet, put it in the diner for Tabitha to find, encouraged Tabitha to dig. And that's how the bracelet ended up in the diner in this theory. And also, Eloise is alive. We'll probably see her season 5 story walking. And she hasn't really made contact because she didn't know how to get back to town. She kept getting lost. She probably is the one that made the totems at the settlement, planted the wild vegetables at the settlement. She probably has done a lot of stuff that we'll find out about maybe season 5, hopefully season 4. Please subscribe, click the bell, ding the dong, bing the bong, all that great stuff. Share everywhere, including your YouTube community tab. Please and thank you. And also, if you want to donate, you could donate through Super Thanks. That is located where the subscribe button is. And also, you could donate with Cash App. That is $Spade Parkland. And also, you could join the channel membership by clicking the join button near the subscribe button. I do weekly live streams for channel members. So join that if you want to be a part of the channel member live stream. Let me know in the comment section your thoughts. Thumbs up the video, share to your social media, subscribe, click the notification bell. Thanks for watching. Go forth, do great things, and I'm out. Peace.